Hi, how are you doing? This is Pastor Cheryl. Usually I like to do sermons, but today it's a warning, okay? Today it's a warning. We seem to be on high alert here in the United States since this war has broken out in the Mideast that somehow Trump had to help with. And, he and Benjamin Netanyahu get along really good, and they're buddies. And anyway, so he had some of our ships around there, but it was the Israeli Air Force that knocked out the criminal element out of that building. And so, and the people in Iran are thrilled. But their army has been firing, our Navy has been firing back at us, and they have been firing back at Israel, pummeling them. We think they're getting the bombs from China. China and perhaps Russia is selling them these, weapons. Otherwise, I thought that we knocked out the majority of that stuff. Like, where are they getting it from? And then I think they have other stockpiles that we don't know anything about, which is the more likely scenario. And so they're firing away at a lot of these missiles at Israel, and we wonder when they're going to start firing away at us. And getting their allies, such as Russia, to come on over here with their submarines and shoot at us. And I really don't think that Putin wants to be involved in this. I really don't. No one likes war. No one wants to get involved with war. But because that might happen, please stock up canned goods and dried foods, lots of it, enough for, let's say, a couple weeks down in your basement, because we could get some radiation. We could get some bombs going off over here. Iran's sleeper cells, a strange thing to call this, sleeper cells. Sleeper cells. That means someone who's immigrated to the United States. It could be a United States citizen, but from Iran, could be doing something terrible. Another 9/11 type event. There is a possibility of that happening. And make sure all your windows and doors are tight, that even any little draft coming in from outside, make sure your house is airtight. And you can get those rubber things you put at the bottom of the doors. They're only like $7 at the hardware store or Amazon. If you're not by a hardware store, you have to order through Amazon. That'll be sent to you ASAP. And some sort of other weatherproofing around your windows and doors. Make sure that your house is airtight, because this radiation is like poison air. You don't want it coming into your house. And you'll have to stay indoors for 72 hours. Frightening, right? We don't want anyone to get sick. We don't want anyone to get harmed. So I'm putting this out with the hopes that, that you're out there listening. Yeah, I can see my dogs. See, I do paintings. Okay. And so anyway, when you take your pets out, make sure that, you can't take them out during that time. No one should go in and out of the house. Put little booties on your dog's feet. You don't know how to do that. Rubber bands and plastic bags work. Make sure that you've got some sort of face mask. And you can get a cheap Geiger counter at the hardware store or Amazon again. They have a number of them. a number of different styles. They work. Just first go around the house, see what's considered normal, keep a notebook on that, and when this thing happens, after 72 hours, keep track of it, and lock yourself up in a small room. And make sure it's all airtight, nothing can get through, and that, everyone's safe, you and your family, your kids, your dogs, your cats. Make sure you have extra food for those dogs and cats. Make sure that you have a lot of water, because the water coming out of the spigot will be poison. Radiation. Until it clears up. Because we're all tapped into a natural spring underneath the earth. We have rivers on top of the earth, and then we've got rivers underneath the ground. And that's their own filtering system. The ground has its own filtering system with that. But the Geiger counter is important. So really prep. Be a prepper. And I am just worried about this. I have been for a long time, because I could kind of see it coming. Ministers get information that some other people usually don't from God. And yes, Christ is coming with his rescue. It's called the rapture. It's a rescue. The weak will be taken first, children and old people, like in nursing homes. And I went, oh, that's what God said. He was going to take people out of nursing homes, because you got people there of multiple beliefs, Most of them are Christian. And he says, yes, I want all the old people. And he says, you wouldn't believe what they will do to the old people. So I think God is going to take the seniors and the children, the weak ones first, and then grab the rest of his believers. It's not going to be alphabetical order. I always felt alphabetical order was not fair. Okay? Someone at the end of the alphabet. XYZ, they got to wait a long time. And so it'll be according to, I think, need and location and that sort of thing. But the angels are well organized, and they've got this figured out. They've got it figured out. And so make sure your house is airtight and that you have sufficient food and water. Dried goods, because they keep forever. The dried goods, put them in Rubbermaid containers with snap-down lids so the mice don't get to it. Or you can get these 5-gallon buckets with the snap-down lids, and they'll keep for like 10 years. 10 years in there. It's amazing. And so, just keep the faith. Christ is coming. And meantime, we might go through some really rough times, really rough spots, before God decides he's going to start pulling his people out. Parts of the Mideast that we have been worried about were evangelized years ago. It's just that the Muslims went in and at knife point or sword point converted the Christians to Muslims. A lot of those are Christian nations, because they're all surrounding Israel. A lot of that was Christian nations. And then the Muslims went in and took over. So right now we are fighting the devil. They think we're the devil. We know better. Oh my, look at the stuff that they're doing. But yeah, right now we will be fighting the devil. And Israel certainly is. It's fighting the devil. And keep them in prayer. And so I will keep you posted. And we will see what happens with this war in the Mideast, because I really think it's going to end up over here. A lot of that I think is going to end up over here. In fact, I've had dreams about it for years. Dad used to say, oh, Cheryl, you don't share stuff like that. People think you're crazy, you know? But yes, I've had, one was a dream where I had all the neighbors in my basement, and I was protecting and taking care of all of them. And then a Russian soldier comes in with a heavy accent, with a heavy Russian accent, and said, "Where's the pastor?" Me, right? "Where's the minister?" Me. And so I'm like, oh, big trouble there. Another one is I was a small child in my parents' home. True. This is a true dream. It was like 30 years ago. Excuse me here. But I was a small child in my parents' home. I was looking out the back window. East Moline. I was in East Moline. That's where I grew up. And so anyway, I saw some Russian soldiers walking down 34th Avenue in East Moline, where I grew up. And I'm noticing that they're going door to door and pulling people out at gunpoint, and they got their hands behind their head. They're arresting them. So I was a small child in my parents' home. I went up into the attic. It had one of those, you pull down the rope and the whole staircase unfolds, and I grabbed my 2 little dogs. All my dreams have 2 dogs, all of them. And I'll go up the staircase, fold it on up, and pulled up the rope. And it was kind of a attic that hides, had a door that hides, and I was looking out the dorm window, a dormer window. We didn't really have one, but it was there in my dream. And I was watching them. And I was watching them come down and all over our backyard. And the soldiers with dark uniforms with like a red label. And the helmet was long in the back, like a Nazi sort of thing. This is the Russian uniform. It is now, anyway. And so I snuck down, like, out of the dorm window, down a catwalk, somehow down in between the garage and the house. And I got into a locker, like we had when we were kids growing up, and snuck in there and closed the door. And remember, we used to peer out of those little louvs, those little, like the elongated type holes in the locker. And it was there for ventilation, and I was seeing them march by. And they seemed very mechanical, like toy soldiers marching by, very mechanical. And all in Russian uniforms. And so, kind of a fair warning that we are going to be invaded. Sometime in our existence, we will be getting invaded. And I don't know, I've had this dream a couple of times, and different variations of it, such as hiding down in the basement with the neighbors, trying to take care of all the neighbors. Excuse me. Coffee, right? And so, yeah, this is my family's drink. Everybody in the family is like addicted to coffee. Yeah, this is a kind of an American thing, right? But something will happen. Something will happen. We don't know when. We don't know if it'll be in the immediate near future or if it'll be 20 years from now. But now you're hearing about this dream that I had. This dream of seeing this platoon of Russian soldiers, and there was no American soldiers or cops, no police officers to stop them. What does that tell you? So, anyway, be ready for this. I know a lot of people, a lot of Americans have guns, especially over in Davenport. A lot of them have guns. And so, sometimes it'll surprise you who has them. One, I think I mentioned this to a man that was morbidly obese. I mean, it's huge. He said, "Well, are you going to be ready for this? You got a gun?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, I do." Yeah, because he had a family. And so we are on high alert here in the United States, and they're testing something over there and on the island. And so they're making something. Okay? And that's a really old army post over there. It dates back to the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln was stationed out there when he was alive. Yes, Abraham Lincoln lived here. So, anyway, keep this in prayer. I will see you. Bye-bye.